Well, here we have the Nissan N15 engine that I've just picked up. Cost me $100 and it was reputedly running well, not blowing smoke or anything like that, which is probably true. Won't know till I try it, but I'm not going to be running it with the fuel injection. The plan is to remove the fuel injection and replace it with this little gubbins here, which is a set of Honda Civic carburetors of a 1.5 litre Honda Civic. I will of course be deleting or removing a huge number of entirely useless vacuum accessories and pollution crap, because I just want it to be as basic and simple as possible. This is the set of Honda Civic carburetors that I've picked up, and they're constant velocity carburetors that adjust the opening according to the manifold vacuum. They should give reasonable fuel economy. Two carburetors are going into 4 ports, which is reasonably efficient. They should be nice and simple. This is a mountain of wiring that I've ripped out without much respect, actually, of the Nissan that I got the motor out of. The plan is to reduce it to the absolute minimum number of wires to run the car and operate essentials like lights and crap like that, but with none of the crap. It's unbelievable how many wires they run in a modern car, and most of it does absolutely stuff all. The Nissan engine uses a camshaft driven distributor, which I will be replacing with a 25D distributor out of a Morris Minor. This is a 25D out of a Morris Minor, and as you can see it's in pretty good shape, and I have a brand new cap and rotor to go in it, and I will be fitting it with a electronic ignition unit, which is essentially just a Hall effect pickup that replaces both the points and the condenser. So once set, I should have nice reliable ignition, and more importantly, it will be utterly simple. No electronics to go wrong, and no computer, none of that sort of crap. Now that I've removed all of the intake and as much useless crap as I can think of off this motor, I've made an interesting discovery. This is the Honda manifold with the gasket removed, and if I superimpose the Nissan gasket onto the Honda manifold, you'll see that the ports pretty well line up. Not perfect, but nothing that a little bit of work with a die grinder might fix. And I think that rather than cutting and shutting the manifold, that I will be able to make a nice little adapter plate out of some 10mm thick aluminium. I'll have to countersink a couple of screws, most notably these two center ones here and this one here at the end here, to bolt it onto the Nissan block. And then if I just drill and tap the holes that line up with the Honda manifold, then I should, all things being equal, and they never are, be able to make an adapter plate that will allow me to bolt these carburetors straight onto the head with no welding at all. I'll have to sort of shape the water passage port a little bit so that it will sort of match up with this one, with this water port head on the Honda. But if I drill it at drill the plate at an angle, and a bit of judicious filing and shaping, and it doesn't need a huge amount of water to go through there, and that will neatly line up, which will work perfectly. Here you see my piece of aluminium plate neatly marked out. The port shapes are to fit the Nissan head, and I've also marked where I have to drill holes that will be tapped so that I can bolt on the Honda manifold, and there are 3 holes that will go into the Nissan head that will have to be countersunk, so that and then sealed with gasket sealant, so that I can then seal up the Honda inlet manifold onto this head. There's going to be a bit of filing and die grinding and shaping to get the ports to match up, but it's all quite doable and a lot less expensive than paying someone to weld up a manifold. Stage 1, I've drilled 2 holes that line up with the original metal gasket, and by putting a couple of nuts and bolts through it that will hold the original metal gasket onto my piece of aluminium for the spacer, and I can use that as a guide to drill the main bolt holes. Apart from having to deepen the countersink on 2 of the holes on the top of the adapter plate, it's finished and it fits. I sort of ported it so that it matches the head. Not a perfect port job by any stretch of the imagination, but not bad for an amateur. And the carburetors are nice and firmly mounted. As soon as I've had a bit of a rest, and probably not until tomorrow anyway, I'm going to take the adapter plate off, make a couple of paper gaskets for it, and fit it up to the head so that it can stay there. And that looks pretty good. They mount pretty well. They don't take up too much space. It's a darn sight better than having to have a manifold welded up, as I thought I was going to have to do, but that works pretty damn well. Of course, I've got some Wizzo gasket sealant to put on it too when I've finished it, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Now it's just a matter of the distributor. I had a bit of bad news. The mate that I was going to get to turn me up an adapter, his phone number no longer works. I suppose it's my fault for not keeping in touch. I'll have to try and find somebody else now, but that's the only hold up at the moment. Other than that, it's looking good. Okay, it's the morning after the night before, and after a great deal of thought, I've decided that I can do without having the coolant circulating through the inlet manifold. I live in Queensland, where it's warm most of the time, and even our winters are, well, better than a lot of time in summer in the UK. So the only thing that I need to run coolant to on the carburetors is the automatic choke, which works on a wax pellet arrangement, and there are other ways I can do that. So in conclusion, this is going to be a pretty good conversion. A couple of pod filters on the carburetors from a motorcycle, and it should be hunky-dory. It takes up less space than the original fuel injection. It should be simple. I don't think I'll get any worse fuel economy out of it, and most importantly, there'll be no computer or electronics that with an intermittent fault that can drive me bonkers. So less is more, folks. Less is more.